to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome into Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Thanks a lot for joining us, taking us along wherever you're going, wherever you may be headed. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Jim Coyle with you as always. As I said, got Jake behind the wheel, keeping us on the track. Hope your day's off to a good start. If not, we can get it headed in that direction. It's Friday, if nothing else, and should be a good day. The weather's looking good. Baseball game last night at the Bart. I have to apologize for if anybody went out there because I said it was going to be such a beautiful night at the ball game. I was half right. It was a beautiful night at the ball game. After a 2-hour and 10-minute weather delay, got their first inning in as Indiana is hosting Rutgers to close out the regular season, a 3-game series. And man, things just kind of went wacky after the first inning. The weather set in, and there was a lightning delay, and we're all in the press box going, "What are they talking about?" You know, it was cloudy, but there was no lightning, no nothing. Storm kind of came through and passed. It didn't even really rain, but after 2 hours and 10 minutes, play resumed, and Indiana had Paulie Milto on the mound, and he was sharp in that first inning, and came back and struggled a little bit. Rutgers would get on the board, and it was kind of a tight game for a while. Then all of a sudden, Indiana would just bust it open. And it was funny. We're sitting there watching the Michigan-Nebraska game on the TV as we're watching this game, going back and forth. And then for the longest time, the IU-Rutgers game was tied at 5. You got Nebraska and Michigan. They were tied at 2. Then Nebraska breaks their game open. They scored 3 runs in an inning in the latter stages of that game and took the lead. Then they would end up holding on for that win, as did Indiana, which is huge because that allows Indiana to pick up a full game on Michigan, who's leading the Big Ten right now. And after last night's games, Indiana trails Michigan by just a half a game. Michigan is in Lincoln, Nebraska, taking on the Cornhuskers, and Indiana needs a little more help from Nebraska if they're going to try to win the Big Ten championship. If they can get another win over Michigan and Indiana is able to beat Rutgers tonight, another 6:05 scheduled first pitch at the Bart, that would put Indiana in first place by half game with 1 game left in the series for each team. Indiana would then just need to match Michigan at that point. If they win. If they lose, you can do whatever. But Indiana's got a shot to win the Big Ten, man. And last night's game was a battle. It was certainly a battle. They that weather delay really kind of changed things for both sides, I'm sure. But Indiana got things rolling, and man, they started hitting the ball. Nobody had a bigger night than Elijah Dunham, freshman out of Evansville Wrights High School. Got a couple of Evansville products. Drew Ashley, starting second baseman. But, man, last night, it belonged to Elijah Dunham. He was 4 for 5. He had a night. Trying to pull up his stats. He was the only player for Indiana to get 4 hits. The only one to get more than 2 in that game last night. I mentioned Drew Ashley. He went 1 for 4. Always a key part of that infield. But as I said, Elijah Dunham, man, he went off. He had 5 at bats last night, 4 hits. He had 2 doubles. He was on it. But a big night for Indiana as they pick up a game on league-leading Michigan as they get the help they need from Nebraska. Nebraska has not won a Big Ten series in at least a month. They lost 3 straight before winning a series against Arizona State, which is out of conference, of course. Arizona State, one of the top programs in the country, a top program year in, year out, coached by Tracy Smith, former Indiana skipper. Jeff Mercer, man, I'll have to give Jake some time to pull this up, and we may wait until later on in the segment or in the program to run this, but there's a couple of clips that I definitely want to play from Jeff Mercer today. He is really, really good with the media. He's in his first season with Indiana, but every game afterwards, every question that we ask, he really goes in depth. He breaks down what they're trying to do. He basically gives you an education on strategy and what their focus is, where they're trying to get to every time. Last night was funny. And like I said, I'll give Jake time. We'll maybe wait a segment or so to get this up. But I asked him about, this weekend, obviously he can't call the game differently because of what's going on in Lincoln, and the guys on the team, they can't play any differently or any better, or any worse. Or, they can't say, okay, well, we got to win this and just go out and win. It doesn't work that way. But he acknowledged that, we pay attention though. We're watching the game. I admitted I looked at the game before I came out here, and then while we were, and a couple minutes later, he's answering a different question, and you can hear a roar come out of the clubhouse. The game was over and the players were inside somewhere, but you hear this cheer come out, and he gets a grin on his face. Yeah, I guess something good happened, and then somebody said, yeah, Nebraska just won. And he said, damn, but we're not paying attention, which was part of the question I'd asked him, actually, the original question. But it'll make more sense when we play the clips. But, Jake, whenever you get a chance, we're going to try to do that. That question I asked him at 28 seconds into the interview of that clip is when that starts. And then again at 5:20. So you can mark that.
Yeah, I've actually got it ready if we want to go ahead and play it.
Man, you're just Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, man.
Johnny on the spot. Let's wait till 6:40 to do that. But a big night for Indiana baseball. It was a great crowd. It's a shame because they had a great crowd out there. I can always tell when I get there, the parking lot where I have to park. And I'm like, golly. As soon as I get there, I can tell, man. And it's unfortunate the weather come through and that 2 hour, 10-minute delay, and lost a good number of their audience. But I was impressed. The people that came back, they stayed, man, throughout to the finish. Yeah, I was impressed with it may not have been a ton of people, but there was probably 100 people left, and pretty surprised. I mean, that game went late again. They're killing me, man. They're killing me with these late night games. But it was certainly fun to watch. Like you said, Rutgers they put the pressure on Indiana. Indiana took a lead early on in the second inning. Walker had a 2-out, 2-run double, and it stayed 2-0 until the fifth inning. And Rutgers put 4 on the board. Took the lead 4-2, but Indiana comes right back, scores 2 more in the bottom of that inning to tie it. And then they go up 5, and then Indiana comes back, and they put 3 on the board in the bottom of the 6th to lock that game down. But they had a good hitting night, 12 hits on the night. Always matters, man. When Indiana's getting hits, it's over. They're doing so. They had a home run. I think they're 85th, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to their 85th home run of the season. That ties an Indiana record. They've got 2 games left, and I promise you there will be more fireworks at Indiana at one of these 2 games. There's no doubt. Plus, they've still got the Big Ten tournament to play. But I expect them to beat that record this weekend. And tonight again, 6:05, first pitch out at the BART. It is really supposed to be a good night tonight. It's supposed to be like 87. So, man, it's going to be – they'll probably have a good crowd tonight. Then the finale is tomorrow at noon. kind of an early start. But tonight, I'd say there'll probably be a pretty good crowd out at the BART tonight. So if you get a chance to go out, check out the Hoosiers. They're trying to wrap up a Big Ten championship. They're in a fight with Michigan. They're doing well. The NBA Combine has started. It's up in Chicago. Romeo Langford, the only Hoosier invited to the Combine, scheduled to meet with the Pacers today, as the Pacers are showing some interest. Not sure Romeo's going to be there when they get to pick. Romeo's draft stock had taken a hit, but it seems like it may be rebounding a little bit. I know they're trying to get out in front of a lot of things, PR-wise. You had Romeo coming out yesterday that he's not the shy guy that he's been portrayed, this, that, and the other thing, that he's an alpha dog. He just doesn't show it that way. But, yeah, I'm not sure that the Pacers are going to have the chance to pick Romeo. I'm not sure he's going to be there. Right now, some draft projections have him going to Detroit. You can never tell. He could bounce up again and be in the top 10. You just never know. Excuse me. But wish him all the best no matter what. But he'll be fine. He'll be fine no matter what. But the draft, it's a fickle thing, man. And those combines, they're funny. You know, I think you always think of the NFL combine because they are the originator at that. You got all those interviews, the Warlick tests that those guys take. It's just it's a whole lot of stuff. Now Romeo's not going to be able to participate in the in playing. He's got his cast off, but he's still rehabbing his thumb that was operated on. He talked about that he played in pain all year. That's why his shooting was not that great behind the three-point line. That's something I don't know that they're really that concerned about, because I think they feel that they can work on that. He's too good of an athlete, too good of a ball player. You got other guys that are in this draft that are slotted a lot higher than him that also did not have a great shooting year. Those guys from Duke didn't exactly light it up. Duke was not a very good three-point shooting team this year. Part of the reason they got beat, didn't make the Final Four. The NBA was underway again last night. NBA playoffs as the Golden State Warriors, they take a 2-0 lead on Portland with a 114-111 win.
Portland was up by 17 in the third quarter.
That's nothing. That's nothing for the Warriors,
no,
man.
It's not. I mean, everything I said about the Warriors were going to be more fluid and more fun to watch without Kevin Durant was exactly right. I mean, this is like 2016 all over again. I mean, you could see why they were 73-9 without him.
What does that say about his future at Golden State? I mean,
he's out of there. Yeah. There's no way he's sticking around. I don't really think they like playing with him that much, and I think he's just ready to leave. I think he'll be in New York.
Yeah, a lot of New York fans disappointed that they didn't win the Zion sweeps. They could end up with Anthony Davis. Who knows? But you talk about that third quarter. Warriors outscored Portland 39-24 in that quarter. But that was after getting outscored by Portland 34-21 in the second. So they had a bigger quarter, but they rallied they were down to 15 at the half. But they come out, and that's the mark of a team. You come out of the break and make the adjustments, You come out strong, it sends a statement. It does a lot. Hey, we got a lot coming up on the program today. Todd Leary's with us, as always. Always look forward to talking with Todd. I'm about to rename that segment. Talking with Todd. Ken Bikoff from Pigs.com, our good friend of the show, joins us. Love when Ken's on. We can talk to Ken about anything and everything we do. We'll talk a little bit of football. We'll talk a little basketball. But plenty to get to. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat's got a lot more coming up from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this.
That funky monkey, brass monkey junkie, that funky monkey, brass that's what it means. Drink brass monkey, here's how you feel.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. It's Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you, as always. And now we're grateful to be joined by Scott Agnes from The Athletic. Scott, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about you?
Getting by. A lot of things happening, of course, at the baseball game a couple nights ago with Indiana and watching them in Louisville. Didn't turn out for the Hoosiers too well, but always a fun night out at the ballpark.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I try to make several Indianapolis Indians games a year. They're always just a good time.
If people don't go, I don't think they realize how fun a AAA game is, because they are, because the competition is awesome. You see guys a lot of the times that have just come from the majors or are heading to the majors, and it's usually just a great atmosphere.
Yeah, and the latter part's the biggest thing I'm about. It's fun just sitting at a ballpark, being with a few friends or something. You can sit in the outfield and just really hang out. You can go and really have a good seat, for like $6, behind one of the dugouts or the backstop, and it's just really a good bang for your buck here in Indy. I know that.
Yeah, that's a great little ballpark too. They have that nice little bar down there in the left field corner. That's not a bad spot.
I think it's the best in AAA. It always has the highest attendance annually. That's for sure.
Certainly looks fun. A lot going on. The sports gambling law that just passed in Indiana, man, that is a huge change for the state of Indiana. Iowa just passed one, not as extensive as the one in Indiana, but just an unbelievable change in the state. Not only we got gambling coming, you got beer coming to Memorial Stadium. Man, is the sky falling?
And don't forget the names back on the jerseys. I don't know why they got rid of those in the first place for football, especially because with IU, face it, most of your audience is probably your casual fans. And so to get rid of that, I mean, you have fans that are trying to follow maybe a player from their alma mater or from their hometown or maybe just a star cornerback, let's say. And it's really hard for a lot of those to do that. So I'm glad they brought that back. I think it was a no-brainer and really probably 5 years longer than it should have for them to bring alcohol to the stadium. And that's going to be a nice revenue generator. And more than anything, you're going to make fans happy. At IU, and I appreciate it, they allow you to leave at halftime or any time with a pass out. Most people are going out to their cars, and the trouble is they may be more comfortable with their family, friends, and their drink out there, and that's one reason they don't return for the second half when the team really needs them.
Absolutely. And weird as it may sound, I've had so many people and confirmed that the studies show that the stadiums that add alcohol sales, especially in the colleges, their alcohol-related incidents go down.
Well, yeah, and to me that makes all kinds of sense because especially in colleges, you're going to have your students that are going to try to have alcohol legal or not, right? And so this way, assuming they're 21, they can go in there and without any issue get whatever they want, and it's no big deal. It's one of those things where it almost, by having a rule in place, you're going to have rule breakers. And so this sets them up nicely, I think, for people just to do what they're used to going. If they're used to going to a Colts game or whatever, a Pacer game, you can go there and get your alcohol, get whatever you want, and really have a full entertainment experience. Because that's really what these games and everything have become. It's not just a game; it's a spectacle or entertainment setting.
Yeah, and when Indiana starts winning big, which they very well may start soon with the great quarterbacks they got coming, that'll certainly increase the product on the field, and it'll just be a much better experience all the way around. But I expect that to come soon.
Yeah, and they were already doing alcohol sales for your higher fans, premium fans, I should say, in the end zone. So a lot of this isn't exactly new. It's just now it's making it more easily available for everyone else. And I think that's an obvious call. And then your first question, Jim, in terms of sports gambling, yeah, that's going to be interesting. I haven't heard for sure when they plan to institute it, maybe this fall as the earliest, and that would mostly most of the state would be interested in the potential online gaming app because then, the possibilities here are endless. Like last night I was watching that Bucks Raptors game, and maybe at halftime, who scores the final bucket? Who's up at halftime? For some people, that's one way they can become a fan. For others, that's a way they're becoming closer fans. For others, it has no impact. So I think that's another. When we talk about revenue generator, that's a big one. Likely in a $1 billion level here is what we've seen in New Jersey. I think through the first quarter they took in more than $300 million is what I saw.
Unbelievable. And I think one of the things that they're wanting to work on, especially because Indiana is home to so many sports organizations, including the NCAA, the aspect of being able to make those prop bets, if you want to, for lack of a better word, but and on a mobile phone, they want to make sure that is not something that's going to cause any issues with the colleges and whatnot, because Iowa just passed a sports gambling law, but it does not include college gambling to my knowledge.
No, that's an interesting aspect. And they're going to learn a lot through here the first year or two. It's probably a trial or experimental levels, and then they'll figure it out. And much like anything else, it won't be any big deal. If you're a gambler, you want to do it, you will. I would guess it goes up a ton when you're talking, say, about the Super Bowl, maybe the college football championship and March Madness. But outside of that, I think if you are a gambler, and you've been one already, maybe even through illegal streams or a bookie or whatever people are doing nowadays, you're going to continue on. But I don't think this will create any bad situations like that.
Well, something that people would probably like to bet on right now is who's going to be the next player that Indiana lands from a basketball standpoint in recruiting, because they haven't done too well outside of the state, and a lot of the guys that they've tried to recruit. And there's some people are concerned about the recruiting, but I think that they're going to be fine. But it does, to me, says that a lot of these kids outside of Indiana, they're not viewing Indiana the way that they used to.
I think there's a lot of interesting opportunities going on right now, Jim, mainly in Memphis right now. That's been a fascinating situation to me, in that it seems like you got Memphis with Penny Hardaway, Mike Miller, two former NBA players, two name NBA players, just basically pushing the agenda. Hey, if you want to get to the NBA, if you want to play for someone who's been there, done that, can make one phone call and put you in touch with ex-NBA player, I can be your guy. And that message clearly has been well received, to the point where they've lined up a pretty special recruiting class in terms of rankings. And to that end, taken a couple guys that I know IU was trying to get in on. Trendon Watford's an interesting guy that's still available, but I guess all the speculation seemed to point to a team somewhat in his backyard down at LSU. But that's a weird situation, right, with Will Wade. And then now this week you have the NCAA coming out with yet another committee, Jim, that they're going to try to create to perhaps allow these student athletes to monetize their likeness, their name. And to me, much like alcohol sales, I think that's long overdue. I'm not necessarily for paying players right out of the pocket of the university. I haven't changed from that stance. But let's take former player. If Yogi Ferrell wants to go to TIS bookstore and make whatever they want to pay him and sign autographs, sign jerseys, take pictures, I don't think there's anybody that should be keeping him from that, much like if I was a outstanding musician at IU's music school or whatever, I could go make money on the side as well. That's the one thing I don't like the NCAA or any institution getting in front of anybody's name, because Duke, Zion, I mean, how much did he earn for that university? Now, it goes both ways too, but still, some of that pie needs to be able to be shared a little bit.
Absolutely. I remember back in the day, I mean, this is going way, way back, but I remember the time that Steve Alford got suspended for a game because he appeared on a charity calendar. That's how ridiculous some of those rules are.
Yeah, I mean, what are we getting at here? And to that end, if Romeo Langford wanted to do the same thing, if you wanted to appear at Buffalo Louisburg, a charity event for a fraternity or sorority or local shelter, I don't know, what is it? Why wouldn't that be allowed? I mean, I don't have any problem with that. I know there's always going to be somebody that breaks a rule, and that's why you have rules in place to try to prevent them. But I have no problem with that.
And I chuckled, Scott, when you mentioned another committee, because all I can see is Condoleezza Rice running something else for the NCAA, deciding on this next thing, because the NCAA just doesn't seem to be able to get out of their own way on doing things correctly. They just always seem that they have to do everything as hard as possible.
Yeah, to me, it seems like that organization needs to be streamlined a little bit, much like other places, like the NBA collective bargaining agreement. I think that needs to be cleaned up and simplified a little bit. That's over like 900 pages. And so you got employees at every NBA team, let's say, they're completely charged with knowing the CBA front and back and how it impacts teams. And 900 pages, let's be real, no one's going to have that completely down. And so that just leads to more rule breaking and not necessarily intentional, for example. I mean, we see these universities report secondary violations, and almost all of them are just so minor and almost not even worth the ink that they're put on. But it is a rule that was broken, but it's to the extent, come on, let's simplify things. I'm very much for the common sense type of route. We all know what is a rule violation. You can't be giving away money. You can't be giving free gear. You can't be making exceptions for these guys, but there's things that you can tolerate.
Yeah, a strong-ass offer here and there has never hurt anybody. Hey, you follow the Pacers quite intently, and you're heading up to the draft combine tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a second, but there's been some talk about the Pacers, potential moves, all rumor and conjecture right now, but some interesting stuff being batted around.
No, absolutely, yeah. People, it's that time of year, right, where if you have a lack of information here more than a month away from the draft, there's speculation that goes on, and people want to guess at what's going on and maybe what they should do. But in reality, there's so many different things that go into it. If you want to take the New Orleans Pelicans, for example, we don't have any clarification on the intentions of Anthony Davis. Would he be willing to play for Zion Williams? At this moment in time, no, it does not seem like he's altered its stance whatsoever and wants to continue to be moved. That's what him and his agent, Rich Paul, who also reps LeBron James, are really urging the New Orleans Pelicans to do. But Pelicans now have an outstanding executive, David Griffin, former general manager of the Cavs, now running that organization. And he's a guy, I think, if he can change AD's mind at all, it's going to be him. But I really doubt that could happen at this point in time. They seem really particular about staying there. And in terms of the Pacers, they could go so many different routes. But I think, first of all, it goes on about what guys they can retain. And that obviously starts with Bojan Bogdanovic. And then what do you do about the point guard spot?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions coming up. And then we still don't know how quickly that Victor Oladipo is going to be coming back. I know he's working hard to get back, but that was a pretty severe injury he suffered.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just us, even the team, admittedly, and Victor. They don't know. Now, from what I've been told, he's doing well and excelling down in Miami and ahead of schedule, but what is that exactly worth here 4 months out of surgery? It's not like he's running up and down the court, dunking and sprinting and those sorts of things. And Victor's game is dependent on his acceleration, his quick stops, his sudden burst, his slicing through the lane. And we're probably not going to have an answer to some of that till August, till maybe even September. And so the Pacers and their front office at this point have some information, but they're going to have even more. They're hoping here in a little bit more than a month as they head into the draft and then free agency, because that should dictate a little bit what they do. If they get word, you know what, it's not looking good for Victor, and maybe he'll miss half the season or more than half the season or all this season, let's say, then that's got to alter where they're going. Now, I don't expect any of that necessarily, but those are the things that they have to plan out, plan A, B, C, D, etc.
I'm talking with Scott Agnes from The Athletic. I mentioned earlier, you'll be heading up to the draft combine today to check that out. What are you expecting to see? What are some of the things you're wanting to see? And that sounds like a fun thing to be doing today.
No, absolutely. We'll be there for a couple of days. For the NBA, these prospects and scouts and agents and everybody, they've been up there all week long. For example, late last night, for example, for about 2 or 3 hours, there's a period where teams can meet with guys for about 15, 20 minutes, I believe it is, and then move on to the next guy. Very much like the NFL scouting combine that's held here in Indianapolis. This is just the NBA version. But now on Thursday and Friday here, media is allowed to sit in on these workouts. So for one, you got the measurables, the wingspan, the weight, the standing long jump, those sorts of things that can be tested, and body fat, all those things. And then some guys will participate in a little scrimmage. There's those interviews that are ongoing the rest of the week, and other guys will just sit out, and they're there maybe to just have conversations. There's been guys that have already reportedly left, which usually suggests they've got a guarantee to be taken in the lottery. So very interesting times. One thing I'm certainly looking forward to, Jim, is hopefully running into Frank Vogel, who's just named the Lakers head coach, and I obviously have a long-standing relationship with him, which goes back to early 2000s when he came here with Jim O'Brien, I think in maybe 2007 as an assistant coach. Now the Lakers coach, and things get interesting.
Yeah, the last time you were on, we were talking about, well, Frank wasn't the coach yet. We were talking about that situation out there, but how weird it was. But also, getting back to the draft combine, Romeo will be up there, and I saw a thing about him. They're really trying to, his agent's really working overtime. They're trying to get the word out. I saw the latest thing that, hey, I'm not the shy person that you may think that I am, and this thing is, which is kind of funny because they've kind of banked up until this point on him just being a very subdued, I don't want to say shy, but a very subdued type of personality.
I think that's what he is, and that's not a fault. There's many guys that are that way. You telling me you don't want Kawhi Leonard because he's very subdued and doesn't show much emotion? Not at all. I think that's something you want to have noted in an understanding of an individual. Maybe one's super emotional, like we saw tears from Joel Embiid over the weekend. That's who he is. It's not a negative necessarily. It could be. But the other thing, more than anything, Jim, I think, is they're trying to stress his shooting, how much perhaps that injury, both to his back and to his finger, I think it was his thumb actually, impacted maybe the way he scored and shot the ball, because he's got to be able to shoot at this next level. He's got to be able to knock down the mid-range, and especially from three-point arc. And if he was a outstanding three-point shooter, to me, he's a no-brainer lottery pick, but did not shoot it well. And we know he can score, but will that translate at that next level, right? When you have bigger trees in there and with this pace and space game, those are the type of things I'm more interested in than, is he going to smile after a big bucket or is he going to celebrate?
Yeah, I've always said that, hey, having that personality that allows you to remain calm, that's a positive, man, because you're not going to be up and down, back and forth. You're going to be pretty level, even keeled. But it seems like I think they're trying to get out in front of the not being the alpha dog kind of, or whatever it is that they're trying to do.
What this reminds me of, Jim, is during the 2016, I want to say. No, 2015. 2016 was Thad Young. During that 2015 draft, Miles Turner's agent hired these biomechanics, these trainers, to study the way in which he runs. There was a lot of criticism about the way Miles Turner ran and whether that would make for a shorter NBA career. And the results turned back, yeah, he's a little awkward, but there's nothing to it. But those are the type of things not only do the individuals have to be put through, but agents are suggesting, and teams, and they want to gather as much info as they can.
Absolutely. Well, and I don't think Romeo's going to be doing his shooting because I think he's still wearing the cast the last time I saw, or the brace, whatever.
I saw a photo of him interviewed on NBA TV this week, and the cast was off. Now, maybe he's in a temporary cast, or maybe it's gone for good. I will find out tomorrow afternoon. He's scheduled to talk with the media around 4:45 in the afternoon, Indianapolis time. So I'm hoping to talk with some of them over the next couple of days. A lot of guys of interest, whether it's Kyle Guy, whether it's Chris Wilkes, local guys and the guys that played at Indiana colleges, even Carson Edwards from Purdue.
Absolutely. You can follow him at Scott Agnes on Twitter, or you can catch him right here each week. Scott, I cannot thank you enough, man. Have a great time up in Chicago. Look forward to talking to you about it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Jim. We'll talk soon.
You bet, man. Have a great day. Scott Agnes from The Athletic joining us here. We'll be back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat with you as always. Jim Coyle sitting in. Jake's at the wheel. Friday is always a good day. Hope you've had a great week. Ready for the weekend. Baseball tonight out at the Bart, 6:05. Indiana taking on Rutgers, game 2 of a 3-game series. Indiana fighting for the Big Ten championship. They picked up a game last night on Michigan as they lose to Nebraska in Lincoln. They've got 2 more games out there, so we'll be keeping it up. Just keeping an eye on that. Indiana with a big win last night. Romeo Langford, interest from the Pacers. He's meeting with them today. Former number 1 pick Greg Oden. We'll hear from him in the next hour as well. We'll also hear from Coach Jeff Mercer of the Indiana baseball team. How about Indiana's wrestling program? Angel Escobedo, their only NCAA champion, individual champion. He's now the head coach for IU Wrestling. And bringing in the number 16 rated recruiting class in the country. Number 6 in the Big Ten. And you may say, oh, it's a 6. Let me tell you, the Big Ten wrestling is tough. Real tough. Penn State, Iowa, Ohio State. That's number 16 class in the country. That's getting something done. We'll see if we can get Angel on the program next week. But A lot of times just because you're great at a sport does not translate into being a great coach. But that does not seem to be the case here, man. That's another Indiana program that is really off the mat. No pun intended. Actually, what the heck? Yes, it is intended. Another program getting off the mat. You got IU softball that's on the rise, volleyball that's on the rise. Obviously, baseball doing well. They've been doing well for a while. Swimming and diving's back. The golf team just they're going to the NCAA tournament. A lot of good stuff going on, man. Hey, on this date 80 years ago in 1939. May 17, 1939, NBC broadcast the first televised sporting event in U.S. history, a Princeton-Columbia baseball game in New York. Went to 400 homes.
How many times did the umpires have to go to instant replay?
Yeah, that was probably more like a court reporter, sketch artist.
Stenographer just typing out plays.
Yeah. That's about all you had back then. But, there was more people that saw the Indiana-Rutgers game last night than saw the first ever sporting event. Johnny Jager's brother Noah, Bloomington South guy, he's going to West Point, I saw yesterday. And, there's been talk about Indiana. If they play well, if they win the Big Ten, they still might have a shot at hosting. Buddy Airy texted me yesterday, says that's not going to happen. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. So that's probably the case. Probably head to Louisville. I'm guessing right now for proximity. Maybe not. If they play well, maybe that will get them in a different area. I'm not sure, but Louisville beat Florida State 14-1 to clinch a share of the ACC regular season title yesterday. Gives them a top 2 seed in their tournament. Remember that Alex Pinellas guy? He homered twice for them. They're a good program. But as far as the super regional, that's probably where they would end up. For sure. We'll certainly see. And I got a text in from Tim asking if we are, as far as recruiting right now, what was going on. Well, we're in a dead period. May 16th through the 24th is a dead period, which means there's no face-to-face contact. They can talk and text and do all the things that Kelvin Sampson got in trouble for. You can do all that stuff now all the time. But right now is one of the dead periods. Then there's only 3 more the rest of the year, all in July, which is kind of odd. Not sure I understand that, but it's not for me to understand. Todd Leary's on the program today. Ken Bikoff will join us from Pigs.com. A lot to get to. We're going to hear from Greg Oden. Talks about Romeo, who is meeting with the Pacers today up in Chicago at the NBA Draft Combine. We'll also hear from Jeff Mercer, IU's baseball coach, as they big win last night over Rutgers, 7-5. Nebraska knocks off Michigan 5-2. That's big. And if you think about it, that means that Michigan has lost 3 out of their last 4 Big Ten games. And the one that they didn't lose, they won in 12 innings. Hopefully that'll continue and the Hoosiers can wrap up a Big Ten championship. That would be kind of cool, especially for Jeff Mercer in his first season. That would be awesome. They haven't won. I don't think they've won the Big Ten title. I think 14 maybe, 2014. I think that's when it was. But they're back out at the Bart tonight. 6:05 is the first pitch. They finish the series tomorrow, noon start. Not sure when Nebraska and Michigan play tomorrow. That would be wild if Indiana played at their split times, and if the Big Ten championship comes down to that, if Indiana were to sweep Rutgers and if it came down to a game that Michigan had to win, that would be must-see TV. Got the weekend coming up. Get the Indianapolis 500 coming up soon. Things are already underway up there in Indianapolis, of course. We'll try to go up there and get a little coverage in. Kind of outside of what we normally do, but that's okay. That's a specialty event. It fits in always. I always enjoyed watching the 500. It's going to be on NBC for the first time this year. Kind of a different, been on ABC from as long as I can remember. Go way back. Way back to the old days. Feel free to hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. But, Tim texted in about we are in a dead period right now. Now, there's still communication going on. There's still talking. There's still texting. But there's no face-to-face. No visits to the gym, to the high schools to watch them play. I think if they were in an event on campus, that's allowable. But I'm not even going to think about trying to break down all that stuff. I don't even want that stuff in my head, man. NCAA rule book is about 8 inches thick.
Did you see the matchups for the Jimmy V Classic were released?
Right, I did see that. I'm glad you brought that up, Jake. I can't believe that they passed on the opportunity of pairing Indiana and Texas Tech.
I'm surprised that they didn't put Louisville and Indiana together, to be honest, just because I figured that they would want the TV money. UConn was the last team I thought Indiana was going to be playing.
Yeah, I don't know if they looked at matchups. I don't know how they came to make that decision. Of course, you're looking at 3 of those 4 teams have all won national championships. I mean, UConn won a couple in the 2000s. Louisville won one that was taken away in 2013. And of course, Indiana's got 5 banners hanging total. Haven't won for quite a while, but Texas Tech has not won one. But they did go to the Final Four last year. But I was one, if that was an NCAA thing, oh, hell yes, you know that they're going to pair Indiana and Texas Tech, no doubt. Thought that it was a possibility of happening. There was some stuff that had been written that was kind of leaning toward that not happening, but it was actually leaning towards UConn playing Texas Tech from what I'd seen. But that does not turn out to be the case, as Indiana will be taking on the UConn Huskies, which means Louisville will be playing Texas Tech. And I believe that is at Madison Square Garden, right?
Pretty sure, yeah.
The only other place it could be is over in Brooklyn, the Barclays Center. But I would imagine that is at MSG, one of the great, most iconic venues, sports venues in the world. Went there for the Big Ten tournament season before last. It was pretty cool being there, I got to tell you. I mean, during the day. It was before the games. I was walking around. There was nobody there. And just see all the pictures they have up of all the things that have gone on at Madison Square Garden. It was pretty cool. Hey, we got a lot coming up on the show today yet to go. Todd Leary joined us as always. Looking forward to talking to Todd. Ken Bikoff from Peaks.com is going to stop by as well. We're going to hear from Greg Oden. We'll hear from Jeff Mercer, the IU baseball program. Stay tuned. We got plenty more coming here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat. Back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. It's Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hey sports fans, this is Lily King. Make sure you tune in to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jet airliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle with you as always. Jake's behind the wheel. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Here on this Friday, a big program as always. Our good friend Todd Leary will stop by. Always looking forward to talking with Todd. Ken Bikoff from Peaks.com. Also looking forward to that. He's always a pleasure to have Ken on the program. Lots of stuff to get to. Last night, Indiana baseball out at the Bart picked up a huge win over Rutgers, 7-5. At the same time, out in Lincoln, Nebraska, the Cornhuskers were taking care of business over the Michigan Wolverines. They win that game 5-2, giving Indiana picking up a game on Michigan. Now a half game back in the race for the Big Ten championship. 2 games left for each in the series. Indiana tonight at the Bart, 6:05, taking on Rutgers once again. And Nebraska will be taking on Michigan out in Lincoln again. So if that same thing happens again tonight, Indiana would go into the final game with a half-game lead, which would be nice. But we'll see if they can get that done. They certainly got it done last night, man. And on the bat of Elijah Dunham. I mean, everybody did. There was a lot of guys that did a lot of good things. You got Drew Ashley, who's a Evansville Memorial product, always playing solid defense and doing all the things that he does. And you had a home run. But Elijah Dunham from Wrights, 4 for 5. Man, he was cracking it last night. But big game for Indiana baseball as they pick up a full game on the league leader, Michigan Wolverines, now just a half game back. Got to speak with Coach Jeff Mercer afterwards, and we got 2 different clips going to play for you. There's one I asked him, and Jake, does this already have the question in it? Do I need to set it up?
Yeah, go ahead and set it up.
Well, I asked him, I said that I know you can't change the way you call the game, and the guys can't change the way they play the game because of what's going on in Lincoln. You can't be looking at the score and say, oh, well, we got to do this and do that. And he talked about that. No, absolutely not. That you really want to, you just got to get to a level that's what you do. You just play hard all the time. But he said, yeah, we watch. And then there's another clip later. He's answering another question, and there's a roar that goes up, and it's just funny. But let's hear the first part of that.
Process to get there.
I know you can't change how you call the game, how the guys play the game, but obviously Nebraska playing Michigan, a huge series going on while you're playing Rutgers here in the Big Ten Championship on the line. How does that's got to play into your mind somehow after the game when you like Nebraska plays tonight?
Yeah, no, I'm certainly I check it after the game. I'm human. We're all human. You're going to think I'm taking a cop out, but I truly mean this, and I've done these after every game. Like, my goal is for our guys to be the most competitive, the hardest playing, the most focused team in the country every time that we play. And so that when you do have a game like tonight, right, where you are fighting for a regular season championship, you're not trying to turn the switch on and say, like, today we have to win, or today we have to. If we have to do something, we add so much pressure to ourselves. That's why I get frustrated and vocalize it probably more than I should sometimes to everybody. But that's why I get frustrated when we take a couple innings off or take a day off or we don't show up, because it's not just that day. It's not just the midweek game that you didn't play well in or didn't compete well in. It's the lasting effect of then trying to turn it back on is an impossible thing to do, especially in such a failure-based sport. It's not football where you're just bigger and stronger and you hand the ball off to your tailback out of the eye and he just runs it down people's throat. It's not like that. You're looking at Matt Gorski has one of his best games of his career and gets one hit. It's just a silly game. I don't know why any of us decided to be a part of it, but we did. And so you just can't turn it on and off in this game. And so you're right, 100%. I checked the score before I walked out here. But we do try so hard to get the guys to play how they should, so that when you get to the end of the season, again, coming from mid-major baseball, that helps me so much, because you're just so used to, you're so hardened to having to win in the last month, or you just go home. And so the ability to prepare a team to do those things, the mindset you have to have, it started 6 months ago, 9 months ago. It was every Tuesday game. It was every game in the first month. You're trying to build their mindset to be able to accomplish and achieve in the last month.
I can't remember if he was answering me on another question or somebody else, because I brought up – I remember back when they were playing Ball State at Victory Field. I think that was the game they won 18-4, but if not, maybe it was the game that was at home. But I remember he was kind of perturbed about the 4 runs they gave up, because he said you can't count on going out there and scoring 18 runs in a baseball game. And they had given up 4 runs on some kind of mistakes, some plays, and it was just – I remember it stuck with me that it bothered him they gave up those 4 runs in an 18-4 game. But that's exactly why. That's exactly what he's talking about. But anyway, later on he's answering a different question, and a roar goes up from the clubhouse. We can hear the guys cheer, and Jake, if you got that clip, let that play.
And you have to be able to produce.
It looked like
sounds like something just happened in there.
I think Nebraska
just won.
Yeah.
No, but we're not paying attention. We're not paying attention. No. What a cop out, man. What a cop out.
It was a great moment last night. I mean, that could not have happened. That could not have been any funnier when it happened. I mean, he just went on this and said, "Now I'm being serious with this," and all. He went to great lengths to give a genuine answer, and then it's like he felt caught in something, which he wasn't, because he was being completely genuine. It was just a truly funny moment. But that's true. I mean, that stuck out to me about that 18-4 game when he talked about that. But a great moment with Coach Jeff Mercer, and congratulations to him, as man, they're fighting for a Big Ten championship in his first season, something they haven't done since 2014, I believe. But so wish them luck tonight. 6:05 back out at the BART. If you want to go out there to the game, it's supposed to be an awesome night out there today. So we'll see about that. Also, the NBA Draft Combine is going on up in Chicago today. We talked about that earlier, and we also talked about the fact that Romeo was supposed to meet with the Pacers today. They're showing some interest. I'm not sure Romeo's going to be around when the Pacers get their pick. But if he is, that's certainly going to be an intriguing thing for them to look at, not just from a player perspective, but a PR perspective, because that would definitely have a lot more cachet for the Pacers than it would, say, for the Detroit Pistons, whom he's potentially penciled in as their pick at number 15. But former number 1 pick Greg Oden they was caught up talking about Romeo, and he was asked about that. And let's hear what Greg Oden had to say.
I hope he's healthy. That's my number 1 thing for him, because I could tell that, he was playing, not 100%. Being an Indiana fan, I kind of hoped that he would come back healthy and, try to do a little bit more at IU. But good luck to him in his future, and I just hope he gets healthy enough and enjoys everything that's about to come to him.
If you could tell your 18-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
One thing? I think it would be a lot of stuff, but probably a major thing. Actually take the time to enjoy everything that's going on. At that time, you're just doing it to get to that next level. Everything that's in front of you, I'll do it, and get to that next level. But actually realize what you're doing at 18 and to take it in and to learn from the stuff that everything's getting put in front of you. That's my number 1 thing I'll tell myself.
Former number 1 pick Greg Oden, of course, his NBA career was cut short by injuries. He was a high school teammate with Mike Conley, both who went on to play at Ohio State, unfortunately. But Mike Conley's still in the league, plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant is their expected pick at number 2, maybe the heir apparent to Mike Conley. We'll see how that rolls. But also Tim texted in asking, has there ever been a player to play high school, college, and NBA in his home state? Well, if I'm not mistaken, Damon Bailey's already got that market cornered. He played for the Pacers. It was a very short time, but he did play for them, right, Jake?
I think he did. I'm not 100% sure,
Yeah,
though. But
I have to double check that, but I thought that
I'm sure that's happened before.
Short time, but I'm pretty sure he did. But it was very short, but he did. It certainly wasn't an extended career, that's for certain. But it was kind of funny hearing Greg Oden say it as an Indiana fan. Never knew he was an Indiana fan.
Yeah, that stuck out to me, too. The only thing I could think of is what could have been, if he would have went to
absolutely.
Indiana.
Oh, my. Both of them.
Yeah.
Package deal, man. Holy cow. Yeah, I remember when that happened. I was like, oh, what a loss that is. But huge loss. But, hey, how about the Indiana wrestling program? Angel Escobedo bringing in the number 16 recruiting class. See about getting Angel on the program next week. Also, the women's golf team, they're heading out to they're already there, I'm sure, in Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, for the NCAA championships going on this weekend. A lot happening. 80 years ago, the first sports broadcast in U.S. history, 1939, took place. That was a baseball game up in New York. Went to 400 homes. We've come a long way, baby. Johnny Jager's brother Noah is going to West Point, Bloomington South dude. So lots going on. It's a dead period right now. As far as recruiting goes, there can be conversations, but no face-to-face. The coaches can't go to their schools or watch them play or anything like that. But we've got a lot coming up on the program today. Our good friend Todd Leary is going to join us. But coming up next, another good friend of ours, Ken Bikoff from Pigs.com, stops by. We'll have more coming back here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Back in the days when I was a teenager, before I had status and before I had a pager, you can find the abstract. Listening to hip hop, my pops used to say it reminded him of bebop. I said, well, Daddy, don't you know that things go in cycles?
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to the Sports Studio from the Golf Club and Eagle Point Studios. Appreciate you joining us. And our special guest, friend of the show, Ken Bikoff from Peegs.com. Ken, thanks a lot for joining us, man.
Hey, happy to be here.
Lots going on since we've spoken last. I haven't seen you since basketball season got over, but we've got beer that's going to be sold at IU next year. We've got gambling that's probably going to be going on. Just a lot of changes right now.
Yeah, there are a lot of changes, and I think that there are not a lot of negatives to them, to be honest with you. I mean, from a gambling standpoint, you know, if that's something that comes through and people are able to do that, it raises the interest in the game. I know there are people that have issues with you know, that from a personal standpoint, but it also can drag in a casual fan to pay more attention to a game. Fantasy sports certainly have done that in different areas, and I think that makes a big difference. And then, you know, from the beer standpoint, it is something that has been done elsewhere. It's been done, you know, I know in Minnesota for a long time, especially when they played at the Humphrey Dome. That was something that they sold because it was off campus. And it's also not a thing to where people are going to be going there to drink to excess. I mean, it's an extra little thing that isn't going to drive a ton of revenue, but it's an extra little thing to keep people in the game. Maybe just go ahead, we'll have a drink in there. To me, it's something that, why not? There's just no reason not to. I mean, this is, you know, 2019. It's just so ubiquitous. There's no reason not to, and I think that it's just one more little thing that could help the fan experience. It's a hot game. You want to support the team. You could grab a beer and go. You could leave the game and go outside and go have a beer, but then you're outside the stadium. And any kind of energy that could be generated for IU football is going to be a positive for the most part. And I like that Indiana's taking that step and going along with what other places have done. And you could say they're keeping up with the Joneses, but that's something Indiana football really needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about not a lot of revenue, but I think Purdue generated $500,000 off of that.
Right.
That buys some stuff, man.
Absolutely.
And it's going on outside anyway, like you talked about, the tailgating. And Indiana's one of the few places that allows halftime pass-outs. Now, I think that may change.
I think it should.
Absolutely, and I agree wholeheartedly, because it has affected the second-half crowds
of
these games. And the product hadn't been quite what it needs to be, but that seems to be probably changing with the great recruiting job that Tom Allen's doing. Probably expect to see a better product on the field, so it could be just an incredible fan experience in the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the talent and the recruiting. A couple of years ago, there were no 4-star recruits that were coming to the program. This year, there's 3 of them coming on top of some of the talent that they got last year. And these are guys that, when you start to add that depth, you start to add guys who could help you, for at just a higher level. It doesn't have to be right when they step on campus, but if they're already at a 4-star point, they don't have to develop that point. So it's to me, it's just so important to be able to bring in this level of recruits. And I was here when Bill Lynch was battling MAC teams for recruits and not always winning those battles. Just the overall talent that Indiana's been going after, they're willing to battle against some of the bigger programs. Kevin Wilson certainly took a step forward with that, and Tom Allen hasn't shied away from that. He wants good talent. He wants quality talent that's going to fit his program, and it's not a pie in the sky. And I'm impressed with the job that staff has done in recruiting these kids, because they don't have the results to back it up. Indiana has not cratered in any way, shape, or form. There's no 1-11 like Kevin Wilson had his first year. First 2 years of Tom Allen's tenure, 10-14 in the 2 years, 1 game short of bowl eligibility. It has been far from a mess. Now it's that matter of learning to win those games, and you need talent to win some of those games, and he's getting it.
Absolutely. And one quick thing on the beer sales, one of the things I think people may find hard to believe, but places that have implemented beer sales have had much less problems with alcohol-related incidents. Sure. And it's amazing, but it's true.
Yeah, it is. And, it's a situation where people don't think they have to load up out in the parking lot before they could come inside. And, again, it is just one of those things where if you take away that taboo part of it, I think it makes a big difference as well. Because, look, I went to school here. I remember smuggling beers in the stadium myself. Okay, so if somebody wants to charge me with something from 1996, you go on ahead. But it is one of those things where if you could do it, it just adds to it. To me, there's not a huge negative against it. It's been done at pro stadiums for a long time, and just because this is a college stadium, you know what? I don't think it makes that big a difference.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's going to be an incredible fan experience. And I kind of jumped around there at the end. We were talking about the great job that Tom Allen and his staff are doing. I've been talking about that a lot lately. I was one of many people who, when Tom Allen was hired, was the first to say, man, that's a bad hire. You can't hire somebody at this level that has no head coaching experience. And the hire, on the face of it, probably may not have been the right thing to do. But, man, he's making all of us look stupid because the recruiting job he's doing, as you talked about, with not having that success to back it up, is astounding to me because it hasn't been done at this school the way he's doing it.
No, I want to say that 3 of the top 5 all-time top-rated recruits have been added to the program in the last couple of years, and they have committed to Tom Allen. And during his year as a defensive coordinator, I know people don't like his lack of experience and don't like him learning on the job. Well, you know what? Indiana football has lost more games, or has it has not been a good program, from top to bottom. So this is the kind of job where somebody can learn on the job. And they haven't cratered. Part of that has been him just rebuilding the quarterback position, which was not left in a good situation by Kevin Wilson. And that year that Tom Allen was a coordinator, there were more than one time that year when I thought, I wish he was the head coach and not Kevin Wilson, just because Tom Allen just seemed to have so much more of a clear vision and so much of a better focus for the program and where he wanted the program to go. I understand people's frustrations with him. Hey, why don't you open it up, do a national search, do this, that, and the other. Yeah, you might have been able to get a different guy. It's not like Tom Allen would have been stolen away from you. But you know what? At that point, go ahead and gamble on it a little bit. I didn't mind the hire the day that it happened, and I haven't been as critical as other people because, again, it is just a program where you can learn on the job, and it's also Tom Allen. Kevin Wilson was going to be out of here the first opportunity he got. He went to back-to-back bowls, but if anybody would have thrown him a hint of a better job, he'd have been out of here, and you'd have been in the same situation. Well, now Tom Allen wants to bring this program back and is a relatively young guy for a head football coach. He wants to be here, and so if he gets this thing turned around, if he's able to build on the momentum he has on the recruiting trail, he's going to be the one that is here and is going to be able to build it. He's not going to be looking to bounce out of here at his first opportunity.
Absolutely right. And not only that, we can look back at some of the guys that have been hired, Kevin Wilson included, that may not have had a head coaching experience per se, but they came from big-time programs from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You had Jerry DiNardo in here. You had Cam Cameron in here. And it didn't get done there either. So you're absolutely right. Why not take a chance on somebody that's going to be here? Tom Allen wants to be here, and obviously his passion that he's bringing is making a difference on that recruiting trail because he's astonishing me with what they're doing. It's amazing.
Well, and you look at who left the program after Kevin Wilson was hired. And you had a ton of turnover on that team, guys leaving before the season started, leaving during the season. There was a lot of upheaval. There was not a lot of upheaval, and there hasn't been a lot of upheaval since Tom Allen came, which meant that those players bought into what he was selling right off the bat. Doesn't have a ton of trouble, and you have higher-ranked recruits, bigger-time talent wanting to come and play for him. He's selling something that people are buying.
Yeah, he's got guys that are coming in from Detroit that want to be a part of this.
Yes.
Guys that are coming in from Florida that want to be a part of this.
And not
it's amazing.
Not nobodies.
Oh, no.
I mean, it is some serious talent that's coming in. Talent Indiana hasn't seen, and he's been able to rebuild that quarterback position, which again, for some reason, for a guy who was as successful with Sam Bradford at Oklahoma, Kevin Wilson just did not seem to put a lot of stock or attention on the importance of the quarterback position. And right now, Indiana's going to be going into a fall camp with Peyton Ramsey having a couple of years of starting experience under his belt. Utah transfer Jack Tuttle is ready to play immediately and was impressive in the spring. And then Michael Penix showed what he could do in flashes last year. Probably should have been the starter at the start of the year last year. Wasn't, got hurt, but he's certainly going to be pushing for that starting position. So you go from 2 years ago really struggling at the most important position in sports to having a lot of very nice options, I think, that have a ton of potential.
Talking with our good friend Ken Bikoff from Peaks.com. Matt's on with us each week, Matt Weaver from Peaks.com, the football guru when it comes to Indiana recruiting and whatnot. And every week it's like there's another name that's coming, another name, and not just a name, but another prominent recruit that's coming in. And it just doesn't seem to be stopping for these guys.
No, and it's rolling. And the thing is you get your first, quality recruit. It makes it easier for other top recruits to go ahead and make that. And by top recruits, relative to what Indiana's gotten in the past, it makes it easier for them to say yes. Now, you certainly need a special kind of kid to come in and say, I want to be a part of building a program. It's very easy for these top guys to go to the big programs, and you see it all the time. And I understand where they're coming from. They don't want to have to struggle. They want to be there and go to a bowl and do all that. Tom Allen is selling playing time. He's selling a system that players can be successful in. He's selling also an atmosphere that makes parents comfortable, because we could send our son there and not have the kind of problems that you might see elsewhere, and that's no small thing. And plus you throw in everything that you have in Bloomington, everything that goes along with the town, Big Ten football. It is a situation where Indiana really has an opportunity to build something very, very nice under Tom Allen. And again, he's a guy who's planning on being here for a little while longer.
Now we look at the other side of the coin, basketball, Ken. Some people could say, hey, they're really struggling in recruiting. And I wouldn't say that they're struggling from within the borders of the state. He's making the inroads. Archie Miller is making the inroads that he needs to. He's bringing in Trace Jackson Davis this year, Romeo last year, Armand Franklin, lost Keon Brooks. But the guys that are outside this program, they're still struggling to but it's not Archie Miller. I think it's how Indiana is perceived. And you wrote a great piece a while back talking about the last 25 years on how that perception made what it is, but within the fandom of Indiana is not what it is outside of those borders.
No, it's not. And there's just the numbers prove it out. There's no question that Indiana fans love their 5 banners and love the success the Indiana program has had. It just hasn't existed for a very long time. Or if it has, it's been a year here, a year there. There hasn't been that sustained effort, and part of that has to do with the way that the previous coaching staff recruited, the lack of balance in recruiting classes over the years has made it so that you could have a senior-heavy class and then it falls off. You had guys that were brought in and certainly talented, but they weren't going to be here for very long. And they didn't have an opportunity to kind of sustain a culture. And I think Archie Miller has learned over his first couple of years here at Indiana that culture, building a roster, putting together a group of guys who play well together, is as important as just sheer talent. Because you could have, the best player in the world on your team. If the other guys don't fit well, if your bench doesn't fit well, you're not necessarily going to have the level of success that you expect. And so I think that it's important. This is going to be a very important year for Archie Miller because of the fact that he's going to be in year 3, missed the NCAA tournament the past couple of years. I liked what the team did in the NIT, and IU fans might roll their eyes at the NIT. Hey, it was a tournament. The previous year they didn't go, and they said, "Well, this is Indiana. We go to the NCAA tournament." Well, no, we haven't. And that in recent years that hasn't just been the slam dunk. Yeah, it's the bare minimum of what most people expect, and Indiana hasn't achieved that.
It's like 8 out of 11. They missed it, right?
Yeah. So I mean, let's take a good look at this. And when you talk about 8 out of 11, that means out of the last 11 years. Back when incoming freshmen would have been 7 years old. So what you're talking about is 8 out of the last 11 years, Indiana hasn't been part of the NCAA tournament, which means Indiana might as well be, a program like Iowa State or those kind of programs is what Indiana really has been more like. Now, this is a big year because of the fact there has been so much turnover on the roster. I think 9 guys from last year are going to be gone. That's really important because he's been a little hamstrung in terms of remaking his roster for APR issues, just trying to get the pieces to fit together. Guys who were recruited by the previous staff to play a certain way who haven't completely bought into what Archie Miller's trying to do. Now he's able to have 2 classes of his recruits in, and the third one coming in, quality talent in Trace Jackson Davis, second straight Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana to come to IU. So that talent is still there. And they're able to kind of just continue to build on the culture that Indiana has. And Archie Miller, certainly is going to be facing a serious season this year because fans want to see results. And I do too. People ask me all the time, what do I think about Archie Miller? It's a wait-and-see thing because you've seen incremental improvement, but not as much as you want. And it's with Joey Brunk, the addition of the center from Butler. He's a kid that's going to be able to step in and help them right away and balance the classes, Jim. That's going to be important. With the guys that they lost last year, you don't want to just dump a bunch of freshmen in, and they might end up with a scholarship open, which I think is perfectly fine. Again, the previous coaching staff just threw scholarships around like it was nobody's business. This staff has a much better vision of what they want it to look like, and they're not willing to use scholarships just to get warm bodies.
And especially, in follow up on that, they've got 2 open scholarships that may or may not even get used this year.
Exactly. And that's, as long as they're disciplined with how they're using their scholarships and putting the puzzle pieces together, I think that's going to be just critical.
Ken Bikoff from Peaks.com. Can't thank you enough, man. We appreciate you as always.
Happy to come on.
Thank you, Ken Bikoff from Peaks.com joining us. More coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more after this.
Come tumbling down the walls. Come crumbling the walls. Come tumbling down.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. It's Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Skipping and a jumping in the misty morning fog with our hearts a thumping and you, a brown-eyed girl.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Hope your week's been a good one and your day's been a good one as well. Hope we've gotten it off to a good start. Hoping to have Todd Leary on here with us in a little bit. News that Jim Boeheim left Michigan. There was a couple of guys there that came to mind, people thinking recruiting-wise that they may possibly be ripe for the picking. One of those guys, Jalen Wilson, apparently has reopened his recruitment, but I'm not sure that Indiana will be a player in that, mainly because, there were already favorites. Tim texted in that Marquette was the crystal ball favorite until he visited Michigan, which surprises me if he was recruited by Baylor and Kansas and Oklahoma. Marquette, I don't know if he must be from, is he from that area possibly? I don't know a lot about Jalen Wilson, but if that's the case, then Marquette may become the de facto favorite again. But I think it would be hard to imagine that Indiana could jump in there and knock the likes of Kansas and Oklahoma and Marquette out. They probably already have some pretty established relationships with this kid. And when this generally happens, when they have to reopen their recruitment for something like this, it's generally not a long process. They try to get it done as quickly as possible because the schools want to get it done as quickly as possible because if they have an opening that's late, they're kind of in a bind, as is IU right now. They've got 2 open scholarships. It's not really in a bind, but you've got 2 open scholarships that are just going to go to waste. Those are 2 bodies that you will not have next year. And as you saw last year, everybody counted with the unusual amount of injuries that happened last year. Hopefully that doesn't happen to the Hoosiers again. But you don't want to get into these cycles. They're recruiting cycles. You don't want to get out of sync. But Indiana, on the other hand, is also adding a lot of new faces next year. Lost a lot of guys. Some of it was walk-ons, but still you had a couple guys that leave. You got Romeo Langford leaving, Juwan Morgan leaving, but then you had Clifton Moore and Jake Forrester transfer. There's 4 guys right there. Then you have the walk-ons that left. So a lot of new faces. But it's you never say never, but I would think that they're going to be hard-pressed to jump in there and usurp the relationships that's already been established, especially if Marquette was a favorite and he didn't go there after a visit to Michigan. Odds are that Marquette might become the de facto favorite again if they still want him, which I'm sure they do. They wanted him that badly to begin with, but that'll be something to play out. Indiana still has those 2 scholarships available. We've talked about always the option is the transfer route, but grad transfers, I'm not sure that they work well in Archie's system, which that's not really a good thing. I wouldn't think that. I don't think a system should be that difficult to blend in where it takes an entire year for that to happen. But we'll see how it plays out. You never know, man. Things happen. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. They're not done recruiting. They're out recruiting their tails off. I'm quite certain of that. So you never know what's going to shake out of the bushes. You just never know.
I think it would depend on the player as far as integrating into the system. If they went out and got a guy that was just a lockdown defender and could shoot the ball, I think that they could fit into the system pretty well. I mean, if you get a guy that is used to running up and down the floor and playing a completely different style of basketball, it would probably be harder. But if they just went out and got a guy that runs a half-court offense and plays tough defense, I think that it wouldn't be as big of an issue as what we saw with Evan Fitzner.
Yeah, when I say that, it's mainly about the defensive end, the pack line defense. You have to learn all the rules, quote unquote rules of the pack line, being in the right position, doing what you need to do, the shifts, the changes, and all that stuff. It just seems like it takes a while for these guys to grasp that if they're not playing in it already. Now, obviously, it would be great if they could find somebody who played in a system like that. Offensively, I'll be honest with you, I can't say that I have a great grasp on the offense. I think maybe that's in large part due to the fact that they simply didn't have very good shooting, which made it look worse than it really was. But we'll have to see. You certainly don't want to see him to go to lead the. It just would suck to have those scholarships go to waste again, just from a body standpoint. Grad transfers, that's not going to hurt you because they're only going to be there for a year anyway. So anybody that you're going to recruit for 2020, that scholarship's going to be available for them in 2020. So it doesn't affect them in the slightest. But getting guys to come in and just a 1-year hit to blend in, it's not as easy as it sounds. But hopefully they'll get it together, and I'm sure they've got. You talked about a lockdown defender and a good shooter. That's Armand Franklin. That's what he does. Is when he was on the show earlier, he talked about he takes pride in his defense. He takes pride in doing a very good job of that, and he does do a good job with that. But the sheer fact that you take pride in that, That means a lot, man. That means he's bought in before he gets here, it sounds like. So that's what you want. That's the kind of players that you want, bought in players. Because when you don't have that across the board, what you get is what you saw last year. Because I just think there were just guys that just weren't bought in to that system. And it's not a knock on them because some of them wasn't brought in to play that system. And then, I don't know. It was, you can't get around the fact that it was just strange watching Romeo stand around a lot. I'm not saying that's on Romeo, but that's on the coach. So that's there's a little confusing. It's a little confusing. I still don't get that. And I don't know that I ever will, but it doesn't really matter. But you got to find the right players. And that's another thing Archie's doing. He's in the process of retooling his roster, revamping this roster. So they're not just going to bring people in just to bring them in, even though they have the 2 scholarships. They're not just going to stick a body in them. They want players that are suited for the style that they play. And that's difficult to get those one-year guys because it takes them a while to discern, this guy could really fit into us, I think, really well, or this and that. Well, they don't have that time right now. They don't have the time to not for the one hit. They don't have that kind of time. It's got to be something that moves quickly, because unless they're like a Trendon Watford who's waiting to the last second, which, it makes you wonder, is he going to end up taking something that really is not really what he wanted, waiting to that last second? Because was he waiting to see what was going to happen in Memphis, which we see what's happening there? That's going to be a blockbuster class. I don't see him going to Memphis now. It's just a guess. But with all the talent that they already have there, there's only so many minutes in the game, man. Only so many minutes in the game. That leaves the other 2 favorites being LSU and Alabama. And at Alabama, you've got a quality coach, but you've also got Kira Lewis. Or is that right?
Yeah.
He played AAU with. So we're very familiar with a guy who was already there, who left, and he looked at what was going on, what the possibilities were, but he came back to Alabama. So now something that has not been talked about, and I don't even know why I would even say it, but it just occurred to me. Does Tom Crean have some kind of a sneaky outside shot there? He's got the number 6 recruiting class coming in. He's got some great players for him to play with. There's familiarity.
I don't think so. I'm kind of surprised that he doesn't, but I would think that he would have put Georgia in his top schools already. I mean, he posted recently his top 5, and Georgia wasn't on it. So,
yeah, a little surprising that they weren't mentioned, to be honest with you. But I don't know that anybody expected Tom Crean to be able to do what he did recruiting wise there. But Trendon Watford made a big deal out of blazing his own path, which is probably one of the reasons given why he's not going to Indiana. I'm not sure that that's actually the case why, but that could be the same thing with Tom Crean, that he wants to blaze his own path elsewhere. But who knows? It's all just guessing and speculation right now. Because then you throw in the LSU thing. Well, that's a whole nother bag of worms. You got Will Wade, who has got to be sitting there wondering when that letter is coming, the NCAA investigation. because I can't imagine a world where that does not happen. Now, they may not have a lot on him because they've got the wiretap. They've been talking about making that strong-ass offer, but it didn't say a strong-ass offer or what. He never mentions cash. You know what he's talking about. Everybody in the world knows what he's talking about. But knowing what he's talking about and proving what he's talking about, two different things. And we've seen the NCAA, they can't do much. They're pretty inept. So if it's a little shaky going in, I wouldn't expect much from them in that regard. So he's somebody who could possibly get away with that. Wouldn't that be amazing for a guy to blatantly cheat like that and get away with it? I promise you that would piss some coaches off because there are, contrary to what people think, everybody does not cheat. Everybody does not cheat. I assure you, Tom Izzo does not cheat, and he's not alone. But he's a perfect example. He goes out of his way to talk about. He never names people, but there's no way he does that. Text into the show. I think Watford likes Indiana. The family just remember the travel for Christian and don't want to do that again. Well, yeah, I'm not sure that that's the case again because he's going to have to travel someplace if he's not playing at Alabama. Of course, Memphis is closer. LSU's closer. But I think Duke is in on that as well. I don't think that he's only going to be there for a year, probably. So I don't know that that's really playing into it. I really don't. He never took a visit to Indiana, not one official visit. That's not a good sign. So I don't think he really had any intention on going to Indiana at any point. But who knows? That could be exactly the reason. I don't think so, just because he's going to go be there for a season. But it's very valid because that's what happened with Romeo. I mean, people may not want to acknowledge that, but Romeo came to Indiana because Louisville got in trouble and fired Rick Pitino, who the school was right across from New Albany, where he's from. And the next closest school was Indiana. He wasn't going to Kentucky. At no point was he going to UK. So the next closest school is Indiana. And Vanderbilt is a Nike school. He was not going to Vanderbilt. And I could have gone to Kansas, but I think it was too far away. And for the exact reasons that Tim mentioned on Watford, that wasn't going to happen. So certainly some truth to the possibility of that. But I just, with him Romeo made a visit to Kansas at least. Trendon Watford never made a visit to Indiana. That was a little surprising to me. It was a lot surprising to me that he did not even make an official visit. And people say, well, he's been there before. Yeah, he'd never been on an official visit, though, and he didn't make one. But everything's up in the air. Who knows? We'll certainly see when it all plays out. Hey, if you're looking for something to do tonight, head out to the Bart. 6:05 pitch. I think it's 6:05. It's 6, or it could be straight up 6, but it's a 6 o'clock game. Round 2 of Indiana and Rutgers. Indiana with a nice fat win last night, 7-5. All that was going on while Nebraska was handing it to Michigan. And the Hoosiers pick up a full game on the Big Ten leaders. Michigan now with a slim half-game lead for the Big Ten race. Both teams in action tonight. Indiana Sports Beat, of course, will be there as always. Complete coverage this weekend of the IU baseball team. The women's golf team, they're off to the NCAA championship. Romeo Langford meeting with the Pacers today. Just not sure that Romeo's going to be around when the Pacers get their pick. Projections have changed here and there. Some see him going to Detroit at the 15 pick. But who knows? That could change as well. I mean, he could go sooner to someone else. You never know how the draft's going to turn out. I mean, if you ever watched some of the drafts before, guys that were expected to go at the top, whether it's football or whatever, and all of a sudden they start dropping. It's like you watch the movie Draft Day. You know, the apparent number one pick, they get skipped over. Then all of a sudden, these other teams started thinking, well, what do they know? Well, what's wrong with him? Why are they not taking him? But we'll certainly find out. We appreciate you joining us here this week. It's been another great week. We look forward to doing it all again next week. We'll be back with more on Monday. For my man Jake behind the wheel, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.